So welcome to my YouTube channel. That's what we call the good life. Now today I'm going to be giving you a simple guide and 7 top tips on how to look after your tomato plants. I'm seeing lots of people with lots of questions, and there's so much stuff on the market. There's some really easy mistakes you can make, so I'm going to make sure that you don't make those mistakes and you just do some simple things, and it is literally just 7 simple things so you get absolutely fantastic tomatoes. So the first thing I want to talk about is there's 2 types of tomato. There is the Cordon variety, which is the indeterminate, and there's also the determinate, which is the bush variety. Now most tomatoes are the Cordon variety, which means you need to remove the side shoots, which I will talk about further in this video, so you know how to effectively remove the side shoots and you remove the right things. And also the bush variety, whereby you don't remove the side shoots and you just let them grow. Now the big difference with the 2 types of tomatoes is the Cordon variety ones, the indeterminates, grow much taller. And the determinate ones, the bush variety, are much smaller, only going to about 4 foot maximum. And those are the ones, if you want to put them in baskets, some people do. There's a variety called Tumbling Tom, which is very popular with baskets. Now if you're not sure what type of tomato you've got, the chances are it is indeterminate, and it's a Cordon variety, and it does need the side shoots removed. And if you know what variety it is, you can just simply Google it and it will tell you which one it is if you're in any doubt at all. So the first thing is identify the 2, whether you've got them already, find out what you've got. And if you haven't bought them, then check when you're buying them which type you are buying. Now one of the most common things I see with people that grow tomatoes is they don't support their tomatoes. They are like, and you just see them flopping over and literally going everywhere. So there's a few ways you can support your tomatoes, and I have 2 ways that I support mine. I have one way where in my greenhouse I have this cord going across here and they grow up string, and very in a greenhouse this is perfect, and you literally just twist it around and it grows in and around like that, and you don't need to tie it to it. If you keep twisting it round as it grows up, that will adequately support your tomatoes in your greenhouse. If you've got them outside, you need to do something different, which will now wander over and I'll show you what I'm doing with those. This is the other way you support, you know, probably what most people use, and they use canes. So I use quite tall canes, and because I intend for my tomatoes to grow quite tall, I actually put another very strong support in next to it. So you don't have to do this. If you're only going to grow tomatoes that go up to about that high, you know, about 4 or 5 foot high, probably a cane would be enough. If you're like me, and I'm probably going to let them keep growing as far as I can, I put another metal support in, which is just a recycled piece of metal that I've picked up for free, and then I pop in a cane next to it like that. And then what I will do as these grow up, I'll just tie them to the cane with pieces of string just to support them, just to hold them to, which I've not done yet because they've not got too tall, but I will very soon start tying string around them to support them around that cane. So something else is people getting the watering right. There's a big difference between when you have them in pots and when you have them in the ground. When you have them in the ground, you don't need to water as much, and they need a lot more water when they start producing fruit, just to warn you. If they're in the ground, something between once a day and once every other day, all depending how often it rains. If, however, they're in pots, they can need watering up to 2 or 3 times a day, all depending on the size of the pot, because they do take up a lot of water when they're producing fruit, because the tomatoes themselves you know, grow through water going into them. So one of the biggest things I see again is, do I really need to water this much? You really do if they're in pots. That's one of the reasons why I don't grow a lot of things in pots, because it's more hard work, if I'm really honest with you, and I can put as much of my produce into the ground because it does make life an awful lot easier. So the other thing a lot of people ask is what to feed your tomatoes. Now if you only fed them some tomato feed, you wouldn't go far wrong just with some tomato feed. Now always buy the one that you dilute down, because if you buy one that's already mixed up, it doesn't go very far. So it gives you the dilution, you know, the dilution instructions on the back. I've got tomato right, but if I'm honest, any tomato feed would work perfectly well. And you water that down. A couple of other things I feed with, so I mix my feeding up a bit just to give them a little bit of a mixture, is I've got a liquid seaweed feed. Again, it's a concentrate, so I dilute it down, goes an awful lot further. That's another good addition. I don't do it all at once. You know, one time when I'm going to feed them, like once or every other week, I would feed them the seaweed. The next time I'd feed them tomato right. And something else that I do, and some people say it makes no difference, but they are using this in sustainable farming now, is I use Epsom salts, and I put a tablespoon in and around the bottom of the plant every few weeks. I personally find the flavour is better. Now, whether it is or it isn't, I don't know whether there's any scientific proof behind it, but since I've been doing that, I've had far better tasting tomatoes, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And you can buy a great big sack of Epsom salts off Amazon or something like that. I wouldn't buy the little tiny bags from the little shops. I would get yourself a big bag, because plus the fact you can use Epsom salts for loads of other things, including putting in your bath. So it's a really good all-rounder, and you can use it for a whole host of other things. The other thing is getting enough air around your plants. Now this is really, really, really important, and where you put them. Now, not bunching them in too closely together. And putting them in a sunny spot is going to help so much to stop you from getting disease, and in particular tomato blight. If you've got your tomatoes in a really sunny spot, not only will they grow better and the tomatoes will ripen better, but they will also be less likely to get disease. And I generally don't plant I only plant them in a row, so I won't plant tomatoes in front of each other. If you're going to plant more than one row of tomatoes, you want them at least a metre between rows and about 45 centimetres between each tomato. But yeah, I can't emphasise it enough. When the weather gets bad and it gets humid and everyone's getting tomato blight, you're going to be glad that you put them in a sunny spot. I will give you some more tips on how to help with tomato blight as the season progresses, but it's a little bit too early to be doing that now. Just for now, if you can put them in a sunny spot and make sure you do a single row, that will help you so much. As you can see, I've got a single row in here. If we have a look, just so I can give you an example so I am completely clear, I've got a row of just tomatoes across the back. I wouldn't put any more other tomatoes across the front of that. I'll probably pop a couple of peppers in there, but my tomatoes will just go across the back there in a single row. The other thing that people talk about is pinching the tops out of the tomatoes. You only do that when you've got enough fruit on there, if that makes sense. So if you only want your tomatoes to get so high because you've got them in grow bags or pots and growing them really tall like I'm doing, it's going to cause an issue with them going over. You would then pinch the top out, but you'd only pinch the top out when you've got enough completed trusses of fruit on there, so you know that you're getting enough tomatoes. I very rarely pinch mine out until quite late on in the season, and if I'm honest, I pinch the top out to stop any more from producing, because obviously it sends a message to the plant to start ripening the tomatoes up a little bit quicker. So what I'll do, out of, I think I've got about a dozen plants here, when I've got quite a few that are quite a way on with quite a lot of fruit on them, and one of the ways of speeding up the ripening process is to pinch the top out, but I will only do that when I've got loads of tomatoes on there already. I wouldn't be doing it yet. And again, subscribe to my channel if you want to see me doing that when I do it. So, and now one of the most important things, and again one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, is pinching the side shoots out, and people don't know what to pinch out, or they don't pinch out. Now some people don't pinch out and they seem to do okay, but the problem you'll get if you don't pinch your tomatoes out, I'll get all these messages in the allotment groups and on the comments of my page telling me that their tomatoes aren't ripening. So pinching the side shoots helps the tomato plant concentrate on producing the fruit and ripening the fruit. If it's constantly sending out side shoots, one, it's not going to concentrate on what it needs to be doing, it's just going to be creating more leaf and not tomatoes, and two, the plant's going to be so shaded in leaves that the sun's not going to get to it and they're not going to ripen very well. So let's head back into the greenhouse and I'll show you how you effectively pinch out the side shoots. Now this obviously is only for the indeterminate variety and the cordon variety. The bush ones you leave, but like I said, you don't get many of those, and most people have the ones that need pinching out. So let's head in there and I'll give you a quick tutorial on how to do that. So on to taking out the side shoots. Now let's have a look at this plant. Now on a tomato, you have a main stem going up through the middle. Can you see? And then you have leaves coming off the side of the stem. Okay, now those things stay. What you're removing is, in between a leaf and the stem, are these side shoots here. These, and you just nip them out with your nails. If you've not got nails, then maybe get a small pair of scissors. You just nip them out like so. So if we do again, so you've got the main stem, you've got the leaf, you've got the side shoot in between the two, and you nip it out. The main thing to be careful of is when you're getting towards the top, and you could accidentally nip the top out. So if in doubt, just remove the side shoots that are further down, because it's easy to accidentally nip the top out at this stage. So again, down the stem, you've got a leaf, nip the side shoot out. I've let these get a little bit bigger than I would normally do, just to show you. Now, don't beat yourself up as these plants get bigger if you don't get them all very, very quickly, because they do get out of control. And even I, 1 minute there won't be a side shoot, the next minute there'll be quite a big one. If you get the odd side fruit that gets out of control and starts producing fruit, it's not the end of the world. The fact is that you make a good effort to remove them all, and if the odd one stays in, because I will, at some point, mine will get really, really big, I'll miss one, it get quite big, there'll already be tomatoes on it, I'll make a decision to leave that one on, but I'll take the rest of the side shoots off, if that makes sense. So it doesn't have to be exact, but it needs to be better than some people that don't make any effort at all. And I'll see pictures on Facebook, the tomatoes won't have been supported, they'll be flopped on the floor, there'll be side shoots everywhere, and then they'll wonder why they're either not getting any tomatoes or why they're all green. Whereas at least if you make an effort to support them and to take some of the side shoots out, I can guarantee you will get much, much better tomatoes. Now, if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like some ideas of other things that you can be sowing this month, please check our video out on the screen there and in the description of things you can be sowing or planting now.